And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wangs at the sports desk in Culver City.
Well, John, we've been getting a ton of emails at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com in response to that Gavin Newsom-Chris Cuomo interview. Jana writes in, and when she heard Gavin Newsom sound a little weird and robotic, it reminded her that Gavin Newsom, after he slept with his campaign manager's wife and said he had to go to rehab, he spent some time with Amy Winehouse.
They tried to make me go to rehab. I said, no.
That was top of the charts in its day. No. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the former Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He's a Fox News contributor and author of the book, Defend the Border and Save Lives, Solving Our Most Important Humanitarian and Security Crisis, available online at Amazon.com. Tom Homan, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Tom, the last time you were on, which I think was maybe, a half a year to a year ago, we were talking about the state of the border, and the state of the border was chaotic. In the 6 to 12 months, in that time lapse since you've been on the show last, has the border gotten better or has the border gotten worse?
Well, they claim the border numbers dropped for 2 months. Right after Title 42, but they're lying. What they've done is they're bringing more illegal aliens to a port of entry. The same people that would have crossed illegally, they're bringing to a port of entry and releasing them in the United States so they can make their asylum claim. So the numbers really didn't go down. It's a shell game. However, even them doing that, it's back to historic numbers right now. I mean, yesterday there was over 9,000 encounters on our southern border yesterday. Now, you add a couple of thousand that bring them through the port of entry under the CBP-1 app they invented. You're talking 11,000 people a day coming across the border. And that's not counting the gotaways, right? Since Biden's been in the White House, we've got 1.8 million known gotaways. These are recorded on video, drone traffic, sensor traffic. So the border is in chaos. We had record-breaking year the first year, historic illegal alien numbers first year under Biden. In the second year, It blew that out of the water. It got another record-breaking year, and this year we're on a glide path right now to have a third record-breaking year. So the border's not improved at all.
Earlier in the week, we had Ann Coulter on, and she said to be very wary of the term border security because she said whenever you hear the word border security or the term border security, that's a loaded term. Because it doesn't necessarily mean a wall. It doesn't necessarily mean more Border Patrol agents. It doesn't mean having the backs of the Border Patrol. It means buying things like cameras and technology that doesn't work but makes people feel safer. Is that true?
Well, the technology is good. Technology has improved. The Trump administration, the border wall is a smart wall. It's just not a wall. So technology helps the Border Patrol agents do their job. But, no, you need boots on the ground. You need policies. Like right now, Congress is talking about we need to give Border Patrol more agents. Well, that's always nice, the law enforcement agents to get more resources. But this is not a resource issue. This is a policy issue. It's strictly a policy issue. The Trump administration had illegal immigration at a 45-year low. 83% decline in overall illegal immigration. Why? Because of his policies, because the Remain in Mexico program, the Third Safe Country agreements, the building of the wall. I mean, these are policy issues. The Biden administration did come in. They got rid of all our policies, and now the numbers are creeped up. Let me just say this. If they were to reinstate the Remain in Mexico program, if they were to reinstate that tomorrow, 85% of the problem's gone. So they're simply not going to do it. Even though the highest courts in the land that says Remain in Mexico program was legal, they're not going to do it. This isn't incompetence. This isn't stupidity. This is by design. They came in with a plan to open the border, and that's what they've done. And they haven't done a single thing in almost 3 years to slow the flow. Everything they've done is send more resources to the border to process quicker, release quicker, because if there's overcrowding, then there's a problem. So let's not have any overcrowding that we can keep saying the border's secure. But the technology is important. Boots on the ground and policy are more important.
Should the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas, who refuses to enforce the border, should he be impeached?
Absolutely. I've been calling for his impeachment for almost 2 years now. And here's the man who was Deputy Secretary under the Obama administration. He was Deputy Secretary to Jay Johnson. Jay Johnson, who, we didn't agree on immigration issues much at all, but when we had 1,000 illegal entrants a day, 1,000, he called us all in. That was a bad day. He says, 1,000, this is an embarrassment. This is a national security issue. What are we doing about it? 1,000 a day was an issue. Now, yesterday, we got 9,000. And Secretary Mayorkas says the border secure. 9,000 more than what when he was Deputy Secretary, they called it a crisis, and now it's border secure. And the man knows how to fix it. In 2014 and 2015, when he was Deputy Secretary, we had a family surge. How did we stop it? We built detention facilities. We held people long enough to see a judge. Took about 35 days. 90% lost their case. We put in an airplane. We sent them home. The border numbers went down. Knowing that's how we fixed it, what's he doing now? He's not detaining them. If they get an immigration order, the removal, which 90% will lose their case, they'll get an order removed from the court, but ICE can't arrest them. ICE can't remove them because the Secretary has told ICE, and he's on video saying this, being in the country illegally on his own with no criminal history is not enough for ICE to go seek an arrest. So, the man is doing something complete opposite of what he worked when he was Deputy Secretary.
What do you make of that strategy? Because it's not just Mayorkas who's doing that. Biden's doing that. Kamala Harris is doing that. They're advocates and surrogates like Gavin Newsom. They're all over television. Oh, the border's secure. There's no problem at the border. Why do people keep talking about the border? The border's fine. And they figure, I guess, if they just repeat that over and over enough, people will believe them.
Well, because they admit to it, then they got to ask why. Why are you taking care of this unsecured border? And there's a reason why. Look, this, like I say, this isn't incompetence. This isn't malfeasance. This is by design because the politicians think that they see some future political benefit out of all this. Now they think these millions of people will be future Democratic voters, maybe, but we don't even have to get there. When President Biden signed 91 executive orders abolishing everything we did on the Trump administration, he also issued an executive order overturning Trump's census rule, which means these millions of people that are released in the United States, they'll be counted in the next census. Illegal aliens will be counted in the next census. These millions are releasing in sanctuary cities, which is going to do what? When they reportionate congressional seats, it's going to increase the number of seats in the House for the Democrats. That's the end game. They see future political power, and they sell this country's security out for future political power.
Right now, there's something that's going on that I haven't seen happen in a very long time, and that is there are local elected officials, mayors, governors, who are Democrats, who are upset at what's going on at the border because they are seeing tens of thousands of people being bussed into their cities, and they don't have the resources to deal with it. One of the loudest voices in the room on this subject is Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, who is screaming and yelling about this every opportunity that he has, and he's kind of born again on this subject because his position on the border was the same as Joe Biden's not that long ago. But now that he's going to have to start cutting services in New York City, he's found Jesus on the subject. Do you think that will have any impact on the Biden administration, or do you think that they will just alienate him?
The Biden administration has no intent of securing the border, so I think they placate them. They'll keep giving them taxpayer money to deal with it. But Eric Adams, first of all, we don't want these people. The people are coming to the city anyways. It's a sanctuary city. New York City. If you're an illegal alien, you get to New York City, you can get a driver's license, you can get a job, you can get in-state tuition, you can get money. The city will give you money to fight your immigration case. And the worst of all, you can be convicted of a crime, get booked into Rikers Island, and you'll be released back in the community when you're done with your sentence to reoffend because they won't call ICE, they won't work with ICE. And as a career law enforcement officer, which he was, shame on him. So he needs to understand they're coming to your city anyways. Why do you think New York ranks number third in illegal alien population? And he didn't say a word about this problem when Secretary Mayorkas was flying illegal aliens into New York. Remember, the Biden administration has transported over 2 million people into the interior United States. 2 million. So, what Governor Abbott's doing is just a small percentage of what Biden has moved into the country. And he never said a word when it came from the White House, but now that a Republican government does it, he has a problem. So I would tell Eric Adams, you want them to stop coming. They're coming to New York anyway with the help of Abbott or Biden. If you want to help your city, end your sanctuary city policy. Start there, because if an illegal alien commits a crime, he's in the country illegally, he gets booked in Rikers Island, turn him over to ICE. Not only will we remove him from the community, he removed him from the country. When I was ICE director, we had 12 special agents assigned to Rikers Island every shift, 3 shifts, 12 per shift. We removed hundreds of gang members and illegal alien criminals from that jail every week. ICE agents have been kicked out of Rikers Island, and Mayor Adams has done a thing about it. So, you know what? Welcome to the game. Welcome to what Texas and Arizona and San Diego now and New Mexico is dealing with. If, you want to fix it, call the White House and tell them to secure the border. Tell them to do their job. Tell them to brush off the Trump plans, re-implement the Remain in Mexico, and your problem goes away. But, again, he's a political monster, too.
I've never understood why these politicians that support sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, also get upset when illegals are bust into their cities or bust into their states. If you're a sanctuary city, you're a magnet, and you understood that when you supported those policies. Why do you get upset when they come?
Exactly. And what irritates me more than anything is that, we got homeless vets on the street. We got a homeless problem in California, almost every major city in the country. We got a homeless problem. They're not taking care of those people. They'll bend over backwards, put an illegal alien hotel room at $500 a night, give them 3 squares a day, give them medical attention, give them assistance with their education. And we got homeless people all over this country who don't get access to any of that stuff. In Phoenix, Arizona, I went to a hotel there. It was being run by an NGO. They rented an entire hotel. They put illegal aliens in that hotel at $360 a night. Here's an illegal alien in the middle of summer in Phoenix, got air-conditioned hotel room, 3 meals a day delivered to him, medical attention, school vouchers. And meanwhile, down 2 blocks from there, I stopped by homeless encampment and talked to three homeless vets, people that served the country as in our military, and they don't have air-conditioned room. They don't get 3 squares a day. But right down the street, illegal aliens who enter this country illegally, which is a crime, disrespected our laws, are being treated like kings and queens. It's disgusting when you think about what this administration has done. They turned their back on Americans, and it's all about taking care of the illegal aliens coming across the border. And look, my heart goes out. I'm not the devil. I understand these people want to be part of the greatest country on earth. I get it. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. We got millions standing in line, paying the fees, going through the background investigations, studying to take their tests to become citizens the right way, and they're sitting there on the shelf. They put them on the shelf. None of them are even getting hearings because we're dealing with this illegal alien crisis.
If Joe Biden is reelected, he'll be barred by term limits for running again. He'll be a lame duck, and he'll really be able to do whatever it is that he wants to do. How much does that scare you regarding the border?
Scares the hell out of me. 4 more years of this, I don't think we can fix it. Look, let's say under his leadership, there's going to be between 10 and 12 million illegal entrants in this country. Do people really think we can find and remove those people? Because based on immigration court data over the last 10 years, this is my data, this is the United States Immigration Court, 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief from U.S. courts because they simply don't qualify. They're not escaping fear and persecution from their homeland. They're coming here for a better life. I get it. They don't qualify for asylum. So 9 out of 10 will lose their case. You look at the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report, what's that say? This is the Secretary's report. If you're not in detention, only 6% leave. 6% of the 90% that lose leave. That's why they're releasing them. They know they got the same data points I have. They know 90% will fail. 90% will be ordered removed by an immigration judge, but they're not leaving because ICE can't arrest them. They know exactly what they're doing. There's 12, 14 million already at least, probably closer to 20. Add another 10 to that. Even if President Trump came back and I came back as ICE director, can I realistically find 20 million people to arrest and remove? No. So Americans need to understand many of these people won't go anywhere. Now, I'll make you this promise. If Trump comes back, I come back, I'll give it one hell of a shot. But I said it the other day on the network. I said, look, what they need to ask Secretary Mayorkas during this hearing. They go, look, due process, a great taxpayer expense. Do you agree, even if it takes 4 or 5 years to get this guy to court, that he should be removed when he loses the case? Do you think he should be removed? Because by then he's going to have 1 or 2 USC kids, and even Republicans, congressmen, will call you up. Why'd you remove that guy with 2 USC kids? Well, he didn't have USC kids when he entered legally. He didn't have 2 USC kids when he's ordered removed. But now because you have 2 USC kids, the federal court order deporting means nothing. He gets amnesty. He's immune from our laws. Because if that's the fact, then shut down the immigration courts because those orders don't mean anything anymore.
Last question before you go. The stand-up comic Louis C.K. gave an interview on the subject of immigration recently that went viral, went all over the place. In that interview, he said, if we allow open borders, America is going to have a lot of problems, and that's good. We should have problems. It's not fair that life in America should be good while it being bad in third world countries. What do you make of that?
I think he's an idiot. I mean, we live in the greatest country on earth, for God's sakes. You know what? And there is problems. Louis, 100,000 Americans have died from fentanyl coming across that border. Is that okay? 1,700 migrants have died on U.S. soil, a record by far. Is that okay? The record of women and children being sex trafficked in the United States has a historic high. Is that okay? Women and children are being raped by the cartels coming across the border. Is that okay? The number of known suspected terrorists is at a skyrocket high of 264 that were arrested, 1.8 million gallows. How many of them are terrorists? Is that okay? The cartels are making billions of dollars a month. Billions. The same cartels who have killed Americans and killed our law enforcement officers on the border. Is that okay? He's an idiot for making that comment.
Tom Homan, author of Defend the Border and Save Lives, Solving Our Most Important Humanitarian and Security Crisis, available online at Amazon.com. Thanks so much for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
All right, you take care now. Thank you.
It's 2:23. If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, 3 o'clock is approaching, but if you want this show to continue, you could make that happen.
That's right. Sometimes you think 3 hours is a lot of radio. And then sometimes you think,
but it just didn't feel big enough.
So get a bigger portion of this show by listening to old episodes. KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe, and you can download all the episodes. Search for The John Phillips Show on YouTube, subscribe to the playlist. In fact, if you want, this is how you want to spend your day, 9 to noon, listen to podcast. Noon to 3, live show. 3 to 6, more podcasts. It'll be like this.
I receive things on both ends.
It's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair.
It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo.
And Randy, that means tomorrow is Throwback Thursday.
That's right. It's time. The phones are open. If you've got a suggestion for the music playlist on tomorrow's show, your favorite theme, something real creative, we'd love to hear it. We had food last week. That was a ton of fun. Someone said, in honor of everyone saying at the end of the day, it should be songs about days. Whatever you got for us, call us right now. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Oh, Mark writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. In honor of KDL's re-election, how about we play People That Don't Know the Pledge of Allegiance? There's an idea, but whatever you got for us, your favorite theme, be creative, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. And on the other side of the news, we will choose one lucky listener who picks all the music for Throw.
It's Woo Wednesday.
Ric Flair, let's hear it one more time.
It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo.
And tomorrow is Throwback Thursday.
That's right, and this week's winner is Ralph in Glendora. Ralph, what do you want to hear on Throwback Thursday?
NFL Films, football highlight music.
Oh, you got it. We could play that. It's perfect because we're running a football game tomorrow night.
That I used to watch when I was little. I used to watch Saturday mornings or Saturday afternoons. They'd have the highlights of the day, I guess the previous week, and I always liked that music, and I never knew where I could find it. But then I found out it was NFL Films, and it's probably You know, with the horns playing and stuff. I think I know what you guys mean, right?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I'm trying to see if I still have it on the hot bar because I used to use it all the time. Don't you worry. I know exactly what you're talking about. The old Raiders where you talk about the autumn fields.
Yeah,
show
the slow motion and the tackles, and they got that music going on. Great stuff.
That'll be a good one. That's what we're going to play tomorrow for Throwback Thursday. Thanks, Ralph. And we have a football game tomorrow, everyone. The Niners are playing the Giants tomorrow at 5. And if the Giants perform any way as they performed against the Cowboys, it's going to be a slaughter.
You know, I used to watch a lot of television about the NFL, too. But I don't think I have court TV anymore. 800-222-KABC is telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It's our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. She is a former member of the California Senate. She also serves as president of the Golden State Policy Council and is the senior advisor for the America First Policy Institute. Senator Melissa Melendez, welcome.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on. You know, I wanted to point something out, though. In listening to the intro, it says good times with John Phillips. And I feel like that's a little bit of false advertising considering what we're going to talk about today.
All right. Well, let's talk about what's going on in Sacramento right now because the legislature, the session ended. So I don't think they can abuse us anymore this year, although if you give them the opportunity, I'm sure they will. We have two new leaders in each house of the state legislature. Speaker Robert Rivas is now in charge of the Assembly, and the state Senate is now run by Mike McGuire, who represents the rural portion of coastal Northern California all the way up to the Oregon border. He's going to be a short-termer due to term limits, and there's been a lot of newspaper articles written about them, about the changes that are now going on at the Capitol, the committee chairs and whatnot. And I say to myself, okay, that's all fine and dandy that the personalities have changed, but there's nothing so far that I've seen that indicates that there's going to be any policy changes at all. So who cares?
No, yeah, that's exactly right. It's just rearranging the deck chairs. It's nothing will change policy-wise. It's just different personalities. Someone else gets to be in charge. Someone else gets their name on the letterhead and gets all the staff members in the bigger office. But the policy is going to remain the same. You're still going to see the same types of nonsense that we see year after year next year and into the future until we can kind of clean it out and get some different sort of leadership in there, namely Republican leadership.
It doesn't seem like they understand the fact that every time they pass a new tax, every time they pass a new regulation, every time they increase the minimum wage of this industry or that industry, or give dramatic pay increases in terms of employment contracts to public employee unions, that they realize that all of that adds up to increasing the cost of living in the state of California. They do not connect the dots. They understand that the cost of living is an issue that weighs on people, but they don't understand what causes it, and they won't take their foot off the gas pedal.
No, and I don't really think they do understand it. If they would look at history and see when the minimum wage started to become, this political issue, that the number of, for instance, young people who were no longer able to be employed because of that minimum wage increase, because employers were then looking for somebody with a larger skill set because they had to pay more for them. You wiped out an entire demographic of people who were no longer eligible for basic jobs because they were vying for them with people who had families to support. And the legislature, as it sits right now, the majority party, has no concept of what that is. They just think, well, if we increase the cost of X, then more money is just going to come in. It's just magic, John. It's magic. So, you and I aren't privy to how the magic is done, but that's how they view it.
Well, and just take a look at the insurance industry, for example. The insurance companies are pulling out of the California market, including the big ones like Allstate and State Farm. If you're not grandfathered in, they are not going to sell you a homeowner's policy. And you hear Newsom or you hear members of the state legislature talk about that. They say, oh, it's climate change. climate change is the reason that these insurance companies are pulling out. And if we didn't regulate oil companies more, or go after oil companies more, or regulate what types of cars you could drive, or what types of gasoline you're allowed to put in your car, those sorts of things, that we're going to be destroyed by Mother Nature and we're going to fall into the ocean. But you listen to what the insurance companies are saying, they're not necessarily blaming the weather. They're saying that it's the way that the state of California that regulates the market in terms of what they can charge, and also the cost of materials is through the roof in this state whenever they have to rebuild something. It costs them significantly more to rebuild a house that was damaged by, say, a fire or a flood in California than it does in the state of Nevada or Montana or Idaho. Well, part of the reason that those materials cost so much more is because of all of our regulations and the laws coming from Sacramento that cause the prices to shoot through the roof.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just, people are seeing their homeowners insurance disappear, but car insurance is next. I think people are seeing that. And as far as the energy cost, someone just sent me something they got in the mail from their utility company, telling them how rates are about to increase. So, we're just trying to prepare you. And nowhere in there do they mention the cause for that California's policies are causing them to invest more in all these alternative energy sources. They don't talk about that. They don't dare want to raise the ire of the legislature who is imposing this on them. But that's the reality. They're forcing these utility companies and the insurance companies and everybody else out there that they can impose this on to fall into this, climate change mantra and put all these policies in place that make things cost more. And then you add to that, our gas prices in California are among the highest in the country. I don't know what they're like in LA, but I know where I am in Riverside County, they're inching towards $6 a gallon again. And then you have the electricity prices again. And oh, by the way, thank you, Edison, for sending me a notice in the mail just a few days ago to let me know that my energy consumption is higher than that of some of my neighbors. I'm not sure why they felt the need to send me that. It's this kind of public shaming now that's coming from even utility companies. So that promptly went into the trash. But these are the types of things that these different businesses in California, whether it's utilities or regular, big businesses, they're feeling the squeeze to do these sorts of things to please their master, the legislature, so that they don't get whacked over the head with more regulations, which inevitably are going to come anyway, no matter what they do. The problem is it's the average Californian who gets whacked in the process.
I'll tell you what else is strange about the insurance companies pulling out. In California, that is one of the few industries that has a statewide constitutional officer elected to specifically regulate that industry. Our insurance commissioner is Ricardo Lara. He's in his second term. He came out of the legislature. And the history of that office has been, usually, whoever's been in that office has made themselves available whenever there's some big news related to the insurance industry. We had Steve Poizner on this show many times, Dave Jones before him, John Garamendi always made himself available. Right now, insurance is the issue in Sacramento. Homeowners are very worried about what's going on in that industry and whether or not they're going to be able to insure their homes. And he will not talk to the press. He will not talk to the media. I can't tell you the number of times we've put in requests for him to come on to just explain to us what's happening and what the plan is for the future. And they just don't respond. And look, he has no obligation to come on this show. Maybe he doesn't like the cut of my jib. I don't know. But I talk to people at other shops, not just in the radio world, but television and newspapers. It's the same thing. They will not explain what's going on. They will not talk to anyone, and they don't feel like they need to.
Well, I think that's probably because Ricardo Lara understands that if you are explaining, you're losing. And so he chooses not to engage because he knows he would have to answer the very basic questions, which is what exactly is going on in the insurance industry. Ricardo Lara says, no, there's nothing to see here. Everything is fine. This is all a bunch of bluster. from the insurance companies, but no one has to worry about not being insured. We've got that covered. But he won't go and talk about how that's going to take place. So that should raise a lot of red flags for everyone, which it has, but unfortunately they can't get him to comment on it, which, in the meantime, you've got millions potentially of Californians who are on the verge of losing their insurance and being able to protect, everything in their home, not to mention, the home itself. And he just takes a walk and doesn't answer the questions. But when you have a state that is run solely by one party, you get to do those sorts of things, and there are no consequences.
Senator Melissa Melendez, former member of the California Senate, president of the Golden State Policy Council, and senior advisor for the America First Policy Institute. Thanks so much for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
Anytime, John. Thank you.